I wanted to love this book. I really, really did. It was one of my most anticipated reads of 2026, and I was really excited to just read it as an overall. It was a book that I had very high expectations for, and unfortunately, those expectations were not met. The book that I'm going to be talking about today is A Certain Hunger, and as a girl who loves reading horror fiction, as a girl who loves food writing, this seemed like the perfect combo for me and the perfect book for me to read. The story follows our main protagonist, Dorothy Daniels, who's a food writer. Dorothy is an absolute hedonist. She lives for pleasure to the fullest extent that you can imagine, to the point where all her morals and ethics go out the window. She takes on a string of lovers, but she also consumes them and eats them because Dorothy is also a cannibal. This book had such an intriguing premise, and when I first started reading it, I was definitely hooked. I was engaged. I was curious to see where the story was going to go. And then just a little bit before halfway through the book, I started feeling lost. The main issue with this work is it felt like there was a flurry of really, really pretty words and pretty sentences strung together, but I just felt like this book had no substance. It felt a little hollow, it felt a little empty to me, to the point where when there were clearly moments that were meant to shock me as a reader, I kind of just brushed past them because I was just like, okay, cool. I didn't feel like there was enough tension built up to those moments. I didn't feel like there was enough tension built around Dorothy as this like serial killer. She just came across as very, very narcissistic, and I think the author did a great job at making her so unlikable. But I was not afraid of her. If anything, I was mostly annoyed by her. I was not very interested in her. The writing is excellent. The prose in this are really well done. And there are parts and excerpts of this book that I actually enjoyed. But as an overall story, it was just missing something for me. At some point, I felt like I was dragging my feet just to get to the end of the book. And when I finally did, I didn't really see anything about this book that was redeeming enough for me to actually say, like, oh, hey, I really liked it. I thought it was a good book. I wasn't really engaged. I was honestly kind of bored, but the writing is done really, really well. I just think that can only do so much in an actual novel, and there are other aspects that I'm also looking for when I'm reading a book. I think the concept of love as desire and consumption, or pleasure as a form of consumption, is really explored very well in this book, but it's not a favorite. I'm actually quite disappointed. This is probably one of my least favorite books that I've read this year. I want to know everyone's thoughts if you've read this book, if you think it was worth the hype, if you didn't. I personally don't think it's fully worth the hype it got. I think for certain readers, they can really love this book, but I'm just unfortunately not one of those readers.